Today we're talking about a man you have never heard about. Ebou Janha, that's the man. Ebou Janha. He was a Muslim, in fact, and as you can see on his table, he made shoes. He also did some blacksmithing and some other such things. My brother, my sister, today we're talking about a man who was born in 1919, just 10 years after Kwame Nkrumah was born, and he was born in Bartest in the Gambia. In fact, his father was a jeweler. In other words, he was dealing in jewelry. My brother, my sister, his father had returned from the war in 1946 as a private soldier, and he couldn't depend on the gratuity. This father that we are talking about, Janha, Ebou Janha, he had returned from the war as a private soldier, and he couldn't depend on his gratuity, this gratuity that he received from the British to sustain his family. He decided, my brother, my sister, to start something for himself. He went into jewelry himself. The work that his father bequeathed to him. How did this whole thing start? My brother, my sister, he was born in Bartest, but he lived in Brikama. My brother, my sister, and whilst he was there, he was helping his father go to the farm to carry grains, which they brought to the city to come and sell. At the age of 22, his father believed he was strong enough so he could go out there and bring the grains. One day he went out and he was captured by some locals who took him to a British camp. And when the British saw him, they said, wow, this guy looks so strong. He would have to fight for Her Majesty, the Queen of England. So they gave him some little training. Right after the little training, they gave him the opportunity to announce to his father, my brother, my sister, whilst in the camp, that he was going to fight for the Queen of England. In fact, at the time, the English were at war with the Japanese, and the fight took place, or the war took place in Burma, today called Myanmar. This was 1944. When Ebou Janha traveled all the way via ship, S-H-I-P, ship, all the way to Myanmar, at the time called Burma. Nigerians would say Burma. Amidst some other soldiers from West Africa. In fact, the Gambian regiment alone was made up of close to 1,400 soldiers. All of them just given some little training and were taken through a quick jungle fair training and taught also how to swim briefly and carried on the ships all the way through India in January 1944 until they arrived in Burma. According to Ebou Janha, he shot and killed a lot of his opponents. They didn't understand what war it was. They were only told that these are the enemies of the British, so fight them. He shot and killed a lot of his opponents, the Japanese. A lot of Gambians were killed. A lot of West Africans were killed, but he survived it. 2 years later, in 1946, he returned as a private soldier. The private soldier that he was, he returned, and the British never took care of him. In Ghana, our soldiers revolted. We all remember Sajina Jete and the rest of them who lost their lives because they were going to give a certain petition. And Commander Imre asked and commanded that they be shot down, and they were shot and killed. Odate was shot and killed, and the rest of them. In Gambia, they didn't do that. A lot of them who returned were neglected. The gratuity they got for being soldiers who had gone to war with very little training was very little. So he established this small shop and took the work of his father as a jeweler and started doing this. My brother, my sister, he became the only, or better still, the only survivor of the Second World War jungle fighters from Gambia. He died in 2022 at the age of 102. He died on a Friday when everybody was getting ready to go to the mosque in a village where everyone believed that once you were a Muslim and you died on Friday, you would go to heaven straight away. There was a very beautiful ceremony for him. The Gambian army and the government decided to have several gunshots, what they call the 21 gunshot salute right here in Ghana and beyond. They gave it to him and they buried him in full military honors. A man who was least recognized until his death. From 1946 when he arrived, little achievement in the eyes of the authorities until when he started telling his story at what time he was getting ready to die. He had the biggest focus or floodlights on him when he granted an interview to Al Jazeera that blew the story big. Today we remember you, Papa. He died at the age of 102. Oh, Papa, Ebou Janha. Unenyamin kowate. Ebou. Why are dear? Unenyamin ko. Today we remember this great son of the land. He went to war with very little training. He survived it. In his own words, 2 days before they left, they were asked to prepare themselves. And by preparing themselves, they meant that they should go for spiritual power. And he went for power, and in his, in fact, jewelry shop, you could see the picture of Sheikh Ibrahim Inyas. You can see him there, and some other such people like that, including photos that he would never be able to forget. He died in 2022 on Friday. My brother, my sister, today we remember this great son of the land. Today, my brother, my sister, we honor you. And in the burden of knowledge, I ask, now that you know the story of Ebou Janha, what would you do? It's been the African History Class.